Bannock Field, and what a night for soccer. Jana, as a former college player, the temperature doesn't get much better than this, huh?
No, this is absolutely beautiful soccer weather. I would do anything to be playing right now. It was a funky little kickoff,
yeah,
to say the least.
Don't always see that. Well, you do see tonight a lot of pink shirts, pink accessories worn by the Panther team. This is their annual pink game here tonight in mid-October, hosting NC State. Mentioned Panthers unbeaten against the Wolfpack since 2018. NC State trying to end their drought against Pitt. And there's the captain, Olivia Lee, Panther center back in her junior season. Team leader for this Pitt program, trying to organize a Panther side that lost a lot of talent from a season ago. Of course, the run to the NCAA tournament's national quarterfinal in 2023. A lot of those players carried over into last year, and Olivia Lee, one of the few holdovers from that 2023 team that made that deep run.
NC State so far has certainly not shied away from trying to get up the field.
Center backs for NC State are Mackenzie Smith and Alex Moore. And that's who Ben Waldron will be going up against here tonight. Panther head coach in his first season, of course, spent the past 6 years as associate head coach. And mentioned that run they made in 2023. Despite that, he still feels like they carry an underdog mentality, being in this conference and having to start from where they started from. He doesn't know if that underdog mentality will ever go away. When you've got schools in this league like Notre Dame, North Carolina, Stanford, Florida State, some of the perennial powers in women's soccer, it's very hard to rise from where this Pitt program was and make your way onto a deep tournament run. That's what they did in 2023, and trying to get back to that level. Tackle from behind there, call for a foul against Mariama Dabo, number 6 in white for the Panthers. Free kick here will be taken by Mana Nakata, sophomore from Japan. Has started every game this season for the Wolfpack. She lines up this one. And first real threat we have seen tonight will come from the free kick just over 30 yards out for NC State. Left-footed kick, center of the box, and grazes the head of Sophie Rourke. Maya Archibald going to be able to keep it in for the Panthers and make the clearance.
That was an interesting free kick there. It looked like NC State, a lot of their players started off sides and then kind of ran into an onside position as that ball was being kicked.
Gary Higgins' first season as the head coach of that NC State side, and what a job he has done. Mentioned in the open, 0-5-2 was the result of his first 7 games with NC State, and they are now unbeaten in their last 5. A truly impressive turnaround, and something you just don't see all that often. After game 7, I don't know if anyone in the conference had their eye on NC State, thought of them as a conference tournament contender in any way, and he gets them to a point now where they are 3-1-2 in the ACC, and Jana, the conference tournament is a very real possibility for them.
Yeah, and as you mentioned in the opening, right, they're one behind the top 6, and that's a very impressive feat, especially for how they started out the season and in a tough conference as the ACC is.
He believed in this team all along. He said even in the difficult moments early in the season, there were a few games where they outshot their opponents, dominated possession, but just couldn't get the job done. Get a cross there from Magali Gagne, number 11 for the Panthers, and the clearance made by Aoki.
Yeah, and talking with him, I think the biggest thing that stood out to me was just that relentless pursuit of like never giving up. His team never gave up on him, even being a first-year head coach here at NC State. The belief they had in him, I think, certainly helped them get to where they're at right now.
Well, Jana, you asked him a great question about the momentum and the power of momentum. Offside by Pitt there. But in college soccer, the season, it goes by quick. And so when you are able to build momentum, that can have such a great effect on your team.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think that everyone just begins to feed off of one another, and you just continue to have that good energy, and it keeps growing and growing, which is an awesome thing, especially for this NC State team.
And he called it a snowball effect, talking about that belief that grows amongst the team, and said he hopes that snowball keeps getting bigger and bigger as the Wolfpack use that momentum that they've gotten here in the back half of the season. Unbeaten in their last 5, including that win over number 12 Wake Forest a couple of games ago. Tackle in the midfield called a foul again on the Panthers. Second Pitt foul in the first 6.5 minutes here tonight.
These first 5 or 6 minutes or so definitely has seemed as if it's a high-paced game so far. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out, if it continues to be that high of a pace or if it slows down a bit as the game goes on.
And first corner kick of the night will be taken by Daisy Duda for NC State. What a freshman year she's had. 5 assists, has become a regular starter for the Wolfpack. And a low corner mishit there, looked like by Duda. And a clearance by the Panthers stays in play. Protopis is all the way out by midfield to send that ball down the line and out. Here's Bordelot, superstar for the Wolfpack on a 5-game goal streak. Outside for Sims, defended by Ellermeyer, who's able to make the tackle and win possession for the Panthers. And Jana, that's one thing that Ben Waldron talked about is Ellermeyer, she provides goal scoring, but her defense has actually gotten a lot better as the season's gone on.
Yeah, and I think we have mentioned this before, and certainly Coach Waldron has as well, but you cannot measure the fight that she has in her and the heart that she has for the game of soccer and for this Pitt team. She's relentless on the field regardless of her size, which is an awesome thing to see.
Katie Ellermeyer listed at 5'4". I think Ben Waldron might argue she's closer to 5'2", but as you noted, cannot measure her heart and her fight, and that has been on display all year long for her in a Panther uniform. Such a promising freshman season, and a player that Ben Waldron believes will be such a critical part of the program in years to come.
Yeah, I'm excited to see her growth throughout these next couple seasons for sure.
Dabo tried to win the 50-50 ball at midfield, but it's back to Smith. And the Pack try and start a surge, but taken away there by Archibald.
Good defensive work there by Abraham to try and win back the ball for Pitt.
Duda working on Archibald and cut out, but it goes to the left of that flag and will be a throw in deep in Pitt territory for the Wolfpack. Abby Rice collects for the Panthers. Redshirt junior keeper from Upper Arlington, Ohio, makes her 11th start of the season here tonight. And we talked about how NC State came into this one. Panthers' last 2 games were at Duke and at North Carolina. Doesn't get much tougher than that even in this league, but fortunately they did have 12 days in between that game in Chapel Hill and tonight. Abby Rice faced 17 shots in each of those 2 games down in North Carolina, at Duke and at UNC, and that's a tough job for any keeper.
Yeah, I think the rest was very much needed and well-deserved, not only for Rice, but for the entire team.
And Ben Waldron mentioned first thing he did when they got home, he gave them all 3 days off and said he almost wanted them to kind of miss playing soccer, and that's what happens when you have such a tough grind in the ACC, but then you know you're going to have 12 days without a game. You can afford to give the team 3 days off, and said the recovery piece was of the utmost importance at that point in the season, having that time off as they get a ball over the top trying to find Wild, but collected by Protopis.
There's a great ball in and a great run by Wild there. And when talking with Ben earlier this week too, we had asked, you know, were you afraid that their endurance was going to drop off a little bit? And he really emphasized that rest and recovery was of the utmost importance, and he was not worried about their endurance or gameplay at all. So I think that was an example of, or proof that they really didn't need rest as a team.
And especially with the schedule of the college season, he said rest and recovery is oftentimes more crucial than staying sharp, and have to have your team healthy. And he said they're really fresh coming into this game tonight against NC State. They've had some injuries, players banged up throughout the year. Magali Gagne was hurt for a large portion of the season, missed 9 games with a foot injury. They're glad to have her back in the lineup over the past few games. And he mentioned they've had one of the most difficult schedules in the country, and there it is, 5th most difficult schedule in the nation. That's including every game this season, so all that they have played and games that they will play the rest of the way as well. And no surprise, Jana, to see 3 ACC teams on that list. That's kind of the nature of the beast.
Yeah, and you know, that is part of what Ben was talking about too. Like, their record might not show the growth or how good of a team they are. Obviously, they have a lot of room to grow, but you can't always judge a season based off of a score.
Well, the Panthers have strung together some momentum here just about 13 minutes into this game. Lola Abraham making some dynamic plays on that right flank, and you see going far post trying to find Lucia Wells.
Yeah, that was a beautiful ball. Just a little bit of a curve to get in behind that back line, and Lucia Wells right there. Looked like she tried to use her thigh. Wondering if she could have gotten her foot up just a bit to get more power on that, but they get a free kick out of it. Let's see what they can do here.
Gagne to take. In-swinging ball with the right foot and headed away by the Wolfpack. Sage Stelzer gonna chase it down. Outlet to Abraham with plenty of green grass in front of her. Far post cross. Too much on it, sails over Gagne and Wells, and out for the NC State throw-in. But this Pitt team clearly looks fresh, Jana, despite the fact that they had 2 tough games on the road. Those 12 days off seem to be coming in handy. They've got a lot of energy early here. Yeah,
they certainly do, and I'm wondering if Lola there could have driven that ball closer to the line, pulled some defenders out to create some space for the girls in the box, but still a great cross and a great opportunity for Pitt.
Seemed a bit odd NC State didn't press her at all there, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They were giving her room.
Yep.
Abraham, a player that missed almost all of last season with an injury. Panthers so excited to have her back. She's been healthy all year. Started all 15 games. And giving the Panthers a lot on offense. 2 goals, 2 assists on the season for Abraham. Brooklyn Holt gonna take the throw for NC State. See the Panther staff, Ben Waldron, joined by his father, Randy. Bria Lean also on staff for the Panthers, and Jesse Goldman missing tonight. He was sent off in the Panthers' last game at North Carolina, so he is, I would think, tuned into this one, Jana, and trying to see if his Panthers can pull off the win against NC State, what no one has been able to do in the Wolfpack's last 5.
All I know is if I were him, I'd probably be screaming at the TV, trying to coach through the TV or wherever he was watching from. But it might be cool to get to see the game from a different point of view.
Yeah.
Might be able to learn a few things.
Yeah, definitely a different experience than you'd be used to as a coach.
That was a great touch there by Ellermeyer, way to control the ball. Might not have been the cleanest pass, but she was able to keep the ball on her foot with pressure and allow Pitt to keep possession.
Abraham, a heavy touch that drifted out of play.
Yeah, here's a little replay of Ellermeyer's touch. Ball in the air, was able to control it, get away from that defender, and allowed to play the ball around the back for Pitt.
Katie Ellermeyer with a high-level club background with San Diego Surf in California. Excellent touch on the ball. Ben Waldron has talked about the calming presence she has in the central midfield for the Panthers.
Coming from California, I wonder if she thinks this is cold.
She's probably adjusted at this
Maybe
point, right?
I would think, maybe.
I'm with you. This is perfect soccer weather. We'll see if it cools down even more throughout the night, but right around 60 degrees in Pittsburgh, a beautiful night. People from Pittsburgh will tell you this is always how it is in Pittsburgh, right? It's always just over 60, perfect temperature.
No rain, just a little bit of sun.
Never rains in Pittsburgh. Protopis, a miss hit, and Duda comes up with it for NC State. Panthers have really dominated the past few minutes of this game, but a pass from Wells is intercepted there by Nakata. And now Abraham retrieves. Panthers winning a lot of these 50-50 balls in the midfield and generating opportunities. Dabo, long cross over to the far side and headed away by Holt. But right back to Stelzer.
And something that Ben had mentioned when we spoke with him earlier in the week was winning the transition game. But I think the other important piece of winning that transition game is winning those 50-50 balls. And right now it seems as if Pitt is winning those chances.
And the cross was in there to Margaret Wild. Ben Waldron was very clear with us talking about this game. He said anything can happen in this league. A lot of people maybe have ruled Pitt out, but he has not given up on what they can do this season. You start to get a couple results to go your way. When you're in the ACC, you've got the schedule and the RPI and the numbers on your side. So if you can string together some wins, the strength of schedule absolutely works in your favor when you're talking about qualifying for an NCAA tournament berth.
Certainly, and I think too, I think that's what's allowing Pitt to continue to fight these last couple of games of the season is the belief and the faith in knowing that they do have a chance to still make the NCAA tournament.
So you've got tonight against a quality side in NC State, and then you've got 3 games against top 20 teams in the country. So this is what he's talking about. Some people might look at the 1-5 record in the conference and say that Pitt does not have a shot to get into the tournament, but if you find a result against top 20 teams 3 games in a row, even if 1 or 2 of those are a draw, you're definitely in the conversation again.
Yeah, certainly, Jason. I think those 12 days off are going to do them well these last 2 weeks of the season, especially with facing a number 1 and a number 3 seed within the next 2 weeks.
Ellermeyer with an opportunity, strikes, and it's blocked by Moore. Pops out, Gagne. Ellermeyer again. Flicks it over to Wild. Left-footed strike caught by Protopis. What a save by the NC State keeper on a great chance for the Panthers.
Yeah, that was a beautiful little flick. Beautiful little flick. Let's see if we can see it here. By Ellermeyer. Just that little touch and a great half volley shot by Wild there with a ton of power on it close to the net. Good job by NC State's keeper, though.
Just a series of really impressive plays there. You get the crafty flick from Ellermeyer, a great shot with some pace from Wild, and Protopis to catch that cleanly. Very impressive stuff from the NC State keeper.
And I think the biggest thing here was they were not giving up. Pitt was being relentless with not allowing the ball to get out of that 18-yard box. And Jason, as you mentioned before, Ellermeyer just brings that calmness and that peace to her. And even in a frantic moment, like you guys just saw, she was able to be calm on the ball and provide a great opportunity for Pitt.
Takes a lot of confidence, too, from the freshman there, right? Because if you mess up that flick, you're probably hearing about it from the coach saying, what are you thinking trying that inside the attacking third? But
she
worked out for
perfected it.
her.
Yep, she perfected it, that's for sure.
Would you have tried that in your Illinois days?
I don't know about that. Maybe would have tried a little through ball, a little toe poke. I don't know about a flick.
Corner will come from Nakata here for NC State. In-swinging ball hit with the left foot and headed away by Gagne. Wolfpack keep pressing. Wong had it blocked, and Margaret Wild makes the clearance. It'll be a throw-in around midfield for NC State. Header flicked on. Wolfpack trying to find Bordelot, and I have to say, through about a quarter of this game, Jade Bordelot has been pretty quiet. Panthers have done a nice job of surrounding her and keeping her in check. The player who has 6 goals in the last 5 games for NC State has been just about shut down to this point by the Panther center backs, Olivia Lee and Sophie Rourke. Of course, a lot of game left. NC State going to do what they can to get her involved. But the scouting report was clear, and it was stop number 13 in black.
Yeah, and it's funny that you bring that up, Jason, because I was just starting to think the same thing as I saw her checking in for that ball. It will be interesting to see how she adjusts to how Pitt's playing defensively against her throughout the rest of this game.
Wolfpack have not yet recorded a shot. We are 23 minutes into this first half. Panthers have 3 shots tallied. They have forced Olivia Protopis to make 2 saves. One of the captains for NC State, Protopis, head coach Gary Higgins, said that was one of the easiest decisions he has to make in his time at NC State so far. He made Olivia Protopis and Brooklyn Holt the 2 captains of this team. They've led the program over the years. Protopis in her 3rd season at NC State. Brooklyn Holt now in year 4 with the Wolfpack. And Archibald going to want that one back. Concedes an NC State corner, tried to clear it away, but heads out the end line. NC State going to have their 3rd corner kick of the night. There's Holt, who, by the way, is the daughter of Tori Holt and Carla Holt, both former NC State athletes. Tori Holt also an NFL receiver and 7-time Pro Bowler with the Rams. Carla Holt played soccer at NC State. Brooklyn Holt's sister was also a member of this NC State team. So we're talking about a family that bleeds red and black, huh, Jana?
Yeah, and probably some good genes, I would say, too. I'm a little jealous.
Seems like it. There's the in-swinging corner that's low and cleared away by Olivia Lee in the Panther defense. Protopis playing around with it a bit and gets it out of play. Lucia Wells was lurking, but Protopis retreats back to her goal. She's been very aggressive tonight, Jana. Has no problem coming out and making some dangerous plays there.
Yeah, and like go back to what you were saying before with Potapis and being one of the captains of the team, and how that wasn't a hard decision for him. I think the important thing to note was that he also mentioned she had a rough start to the season, and they actually dropped her for 2 games, and that still never doubted her capability to lead this team, and it didn't even, ruffle her feathers with her confidence. He kind of let her step away for a little bit and come back and be stronger and be a better leader and goalkeeper for this team for the rest of the season, which I think is a really cool story.
Yeah, Protopis allowed 7 goals through the first 3 games of the season. They lost 3-0 to James Madison in the season opener, also fell 3-0 to Michigan State. Over her last 9 games, she's just allowed 9 goals. So averaging a goal conceded per game over the last 9. Really impressive stuff. And Gary Higgins saying she's been on an absolute tear since becoming the starter again after sitting out those 2 games. Here's Archibald, beats one defender. Now lays off to Gagne, but puts too much on it and halts the attack of the Panthers.
And I think that's no surprise too that NC State's success over the past 7 or so games, 2 of their best players have also had most success within those last 7 games or so as well. So testament to them and the team for riding off of that.
And you saw the RPI improvement throughout the year. Oddly enough, despite the fact that NC State is right outside the conference tournament conversation, their RPI is still worse than Pitt's. And so that's what we're talking about when we mention this turnaround, is that they have been so good in conference play, but the RPI takes into account the entire season, which for NC State includes losses to Western Carolina, Davidson, and James Madison, some results that they wish had gone the other way. And so for Pitt, maybe not as many marquee wins, but you avoid some of those bad losses that NC State has taken from earlier in the year. So each of these teams still with a lot to play for with a few games left in the season.
And I think that's why tonight's battle is going to be a fun one, because they both still know they have something to play for.
Here's Rourke with some pressure from behind from Roberts. And the clearance made. Couple of NC State substitutions, by the way, the first ones we've seen tonight. Erica Roberts and Antonella Macioto for the Wolfpack. Protopis will reset for NC State.
As I'm just looking here too, NC State is also keeping 4 girls on Pitt's back line. So they're almost a 1-to-1 matchup on that back line, which is something I haven't really seen before.
Ellermeyer tries to find Wild over the top. Crafty touch by Smith. And then Nakata to clear the danger. Still no shots yet on the night for the Wolfpack. Panthers have had the majority of the offense in NC State territory. Macioto, nice ball to the outside to lead Roberts, who beats Archibald, tries to get past Rourke, but Sophie Rourke at 6'1", the freshman makes the stop.
That was a great step. Great step there by Rourke, and Archibald knew that she wasn't going to be able to win that ball there, so she kind of went in to replace Rourke, and Rourke was able to step up and just get a toe poke on that ball and win that battle.
And Sophie Rourke, one of those players that you can point to in terms of very steady improvement throughout the course of the season. She was put into a situation where she had to grow up very quickly as a freshman, playing an important spot at center back for the Panthers, but she really has come a long way since the start of the year. And tonight, tasked with facing off against one of the conference's best strikers in Bordelot.
And I think that's just one awesome thing to see is freshmen, they step in, their nerves are so high at the beginning of this season, and they're placed into a role that they just have to own it, they have to accept it, and know that they're going to continue to grow each and every day, not just in games, but in practices as well. So it's fun to see as the season progresses.
Ball over the top to Sophia Doney. One-on-one opportunity against Moore. Moore forces her to the outside, and the low cross goes right into the arms of Protopis. Very well defended there by the NC State center back Alex Moore, the senior, showcasing her experience in making the play. Nakata had it taken away by Dabo. Now outside, Gagne to Abraham. One-on-one opportunity for Abraham, who strikes. It's deflected and cleared out to Archibald and kicked away by Roberts.
I'm wondering if this is going to be something NC State addresses at halftime, is the amount of times that Abraham has found herself wide open on that flank and has been able to do something with it just because they're giving her so much time on the ball. She's had several dangerous chances because of that. That's something that they will address.
Yeah, Lola Abraham has no doubt been a factor. Now here is Bordalo with a lot of Panther defenders in front of her. She shoots, and it's blocked by Lee. Now pops out to Macioto. Back to Bordalo, the shot, and into the chest of Abby Rice, who makes her first save of the night.
Not gonna lie, I think that shot was a little more scary and dangerous than it might have looked at first.
Yeah, I think you're right. It didn't seem to have too much heat on it, but almost a weird angle to it there from Bordalo.
There was a half volley shot from her, and
seemed to knuckle a little bit in the air as well. Gotta give Mariama Dabo credit, going all in on the pink hair for Pink
yes,
Knight.
I love it.
Respect the dedication, no doubt. Wong to the outside. Sofia Hernandez, the next reserve to enter the match for NC State, wearing 28 on the far side. I mean, you've got some pink accents in some of the other players, Dabo's teammates, but she went all in.
She went all in.
You gotta give her credit for that.
I love to see girls, though, really, you know, give tribute to this month, and I'm sure each and every one of them knows someone that has been affected by it. I mean, even the trainer, Ann, having, cancer last year, and I think it's awesome to see. It brings a smile to, I think, a lot of people's faces.
Yeah, Anne-Marie Parada, trainer for the Pitt women's soccer team. Very touching tribute to her before the game tonight here in Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Showed a nice video here at Ambrose Urbanic Field. Everyone on the team giving a shout out to Ann in support of her, and really special moment before the match and throughout the night here at Ambrose Urbanic Field. So Gary Higgins' side now does have 2 shots on the night, but Panthers probably the aggressors so far to this point. Just about 35 minutes in, they make a substitution. Going to be Hannah Minot entering for Lucia Wells. So you've got Wells and Wild taking a rest. Minot and Doney, the first 2 substitutions for Pittsburgh.
It was a great touch there by Rourke just to break the line. And again, as Ben mentioned, the key to success in today's game is just winning that transition, and I think that was kind of a good example of transition from back line to break into that midfield line.
A lot of composure on the ball from Sophie Rourke that we've seen tonight. Again, can clearly see the signs of how much she's grown up since some of the early games in late August, early September. Has come a long way for this Pitt team, and they've absolutely needed her to. And Jana, there's got to be something to it where as a freshman, you go on the road, you play against teams like Duke in North Carolina. Then when you come back and you have 12 days off and you play NC State, it feels a little bit easier because you've been through the tough teams in the ACC and you have that experience of playing in the best league in the country.
Certainly, and I think just from experience and knowing just the college game, that she probably always had it in her. She knows the game of soccer, that's why she's where she's at, but I think a lot of it just has to do with confidence and comfortability, and being the back line, you're almost the quarterback of the team. You're leading the charge, her and Lee, so that was obviously just going to take time for her, but I'm happy to see it, blooming now late in the season.
Talk to Ben Waldrum about which players he believes are going to be integral parts of the program going forward. She was one of the first names he mentioned. And how about the hustle here from Maya Archibald to get all the way back and clear that one out for the NC State throw.
Yeah, great speed there. And she was able to use her body to kind of position herself between the ball and the player.
And by the way, that reminds me, we've got two former Fighting Illini in the house tonight, yourself and Maya Archibald.
Maya Archibald,
how about
yeah.
that?
Yeah. Is this her first season at Pitt?
First season at Pitt, yep. Spent 23 and 24 at Illinois from Canada, Maya Archibald.
Canadian national team player as well.
Yep, U20 Women's World Cup for Canada.
Can't say I ever got to play with her. I'm a little too old, unfortunately. But I'm sure she's awesome.
And congratulations to you too, by the way, Jana. Jana Whalen. If you watched Jana's last broadcast, which was the Cincinnati game earlier this season, she was Jana Fittipaldo. She's now Jana Whalen, so congratulations.
Thank you, Jason.
Glad to hear that you had an excellent weekend.
Sad for it to be over.
The post-wedding season.
The post-wedding blues is what they call it. I certainly have those. But happy to be here, doing what I love on a beautiful Friday night. I think earlier in the game, I had said I was interested to see if the speed of play was going to drop off at all throughout the game, but I don't really think it's dropped off much here in the first half. I think it's been a high intensity from both teams so far, with 6 minutes left to go in the first half.
Yeah, no great chances for either side, but there have been builds from each team that have been threatening on both sides. Panthers generating a lot of chances from Lola Abraham on the right flank, but the biggest story perhaps so far, Jane, is NC State struggling to find ways to get Bordelot free. She's been such a impactful striker in the conference recently. Now another cross from Abraham through the middle to Ellermeyer, and drops it back to Dabo. Laid off for Abraham again. Nothing doing that time as Protapas gathers.
Yeah, again, Abraham's able to find the ball on the flank. And as you can see here, just great first touch and just a quick, simple driven ball across the box that Ellen Meyer was able to get a chance on.
Bordelot heads that one towards Abby Rice, who collects it.
As Pitt has shut down Bordelot this first half, I have a feeling NC State's point is going to be to shut down Lola in the second half.
Yeah, this is where a matchup like this gets really interesting. As Minot noticed an empty goal, Panther fans in attendance urging her on to take advantage of Protapas, who was all the way out. But shot was off target, might have been deflected. But to your point, they're now going to go to the locker rooms. You're going to have Ben Waldrum and Gary Higgins trying to find ways to make the necessary adjustments to find that goal that can break open the game. And you see Protapas out. Minot couldn't quite get a good foot on it.
Just seems to have sliced it a bit instead of hitting it completely with her laces, but tough ball to hit for sure.
Archibald, the missed touch, but Rourke able to recover. Macioto taken by Dabo. And too much contact from Sofia Hernandez. Yeah, Jana, I think we talked about Rourke a lot, but you're seeing it a little with Mariama Dabo as well, just making tackles and winning certain balls that they might not have won about a month ago, and just getting more comfortable being in the ACC, playing with this team.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is just not, especially in center back role or playing the 6, is just not overstepping and being able to read the play, kind of watching where the player and the ball are moving. And it's not an easy thing to do. A lot of girls dive in. I was certainly a culprit of it, and it's hard. You get excited, you want to win that ball, but sometimes they say that the best defenders don't always win the ball, and they're able to just keep the ball in front of them. And I think that Pitt has done a great job of that tonight.
Yeah, it's that really difficult balance for defenders, and one of those things where if you've never actually done it, you probably don't know just how difficult it is to strike that balance of how much do you contain and at what point do you go and try and make a tackle.
Yeah, it's definitely not easy, but I think going back to the confidence thing, the better you get at it, the more confidence you build, the more tackles you tend to win.
Hernandez trying to get a cross off on the far side. Defended by Sage Stelzer, another one who's had a really nice year for the Panthers. And I think if you're Ben Waldrum, we talked about the offensive chances generated, but maybe one of the things you're most proud of to this point is the defense. Pitt, in its last 3 games, allowed 12 goals. And here in the first half, really shutting down NC State in a lot of ways. Only 2 shots for the Wolfpack, just over a minute remaining in the first half.
Yeah, I think they've done a great job of containing, keeping the ball in the middle of the field when NC State has it, and then obviously creating chances for themselves.
Bouncing around the top of the box before falling out to Hernandez. Rourke sends a ball in, and Protapas, aggressive once again, comes out to punch. Holt will make one more clearance. That will likely just about do it for the first half here. A scoreless first half at Ambrose Urbanic Field. Jana, as we said, going to be interesting to see what adjustments are made in the second 45 and which team's going to be able to break away with the leading goal.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what the second half brings. Get the girls some rest and see what they come with in second half.
Panthers had the...
Sounds really good right about now, but...
Did you get out to the pumpkin patch yet?
Tomorrow.
There you go. Making good use of your Saturday in the fall. Glad to be back with you for the second half. Jason Earl and Jana Whalen here as Pitt and NC State square off in a pivotal ACC battle as we try and narrow down those final few spots in the ACC tournament here in the back half of October. So, Jana, we said for NC State, a key for the second half going to be finding ways to get Bordelot involved. But for Pitt, is it really just do a lot of what you were doing in the first half?
I would say I think they had created several chances. They might not have gotten the number of shots that they wanted, but I think that they gave themselves a lot of chances and were in NC State's final third quite a bit in the first half. So there was not much I would change per se. I think just continue to be aggressive and take chances even when you don't think you have a chance, because you never know when that ball could go in the back of the net.
Minot slicing through defenders there from the outside before having it snuffed out. Now Abraham one-on-one with Aoki. Left-footed cross into Minot and blocked, and a shot saved by Protopis. And you see, I think that's Tori Holt. Sorry, excuse me, Brooklyn Holt, daughter of Tori Holt, who is hunched over.
And again, that just started from across from Lola, like we were talking about in the first half. And Wyo just being in the right spot at the right time and able to, again, another half volley shot for her. Trying to get something in the back of the net.
And you can see kind of just took it in the gut there on the replay, and Brooklyn Holt able to trot it off and get back to her spot at right back, and those ones can hurt. Get hit in the stomach there, takes the wind out of you for a second. Good to see Brooklyn Holt back and good to go. Now out to Duda on the switching of the field, cleared away by Archibald.
And for Duda there, I think that was a great run, and I think it was an even better trying to settle the ball with her chest. That ball coming in had a lot of spin on it and a lot of power. It's not the easiest to control, but although it didn't work out probably the way she wanted it to, it's still pretty impressive.
Bordelot trying to beat Rourke. Rice comes out and makes the clearance for the Panthers. I think there might have been a foul called, a little too much aggression from Bordelot, and maybe one of the things you'll see from a striker who's used to scoring goals. 5-game goal streak for her, has not gotten too involved yet, and picks up the physicality a little bit more here in the second half, trying to change the dynamic of this game. Duda wins the ball. Looked like a foul was called against Pitt. Official played the advantage. And now Pitt does win the ball, but a trip called against the Panthers. This time NC State does get the free kick. It was Archibald. Ashley Cedro, the referee. Maggie Short and Stephanie Serrano, her ARs. This one just about 40 yards out here from Mana Nakata. And plays the short ball to the outside. Abraham read it for the Panthers. But now Duda with some space on the bounce out. Trying to touch it past Ellermeyer. High cross sent in. Bounces in the box. Dabo is there. And then the touch from Sims trickles off the end line.
This little push here by NC State, what I've been seeing, I think, just is they're trying to be a little bit more direct. Instead of playing, they're playing more of the straight ball through, trying to create a little bit of chaos, and maybe that's something they discussed at halftime.
Gary Higgins, NC State head coach, trying to make the necessary adjustments. First season with the Wolfpack for him after 3 years at East Carolina. And we asked Higgins about his first year coaching in the ACC, if there's anything that surprised him about being in this league. And he said, well, not really, because when he was at East Carolina, they played against Duke often. They had North Carolina in some spring games. And at the end of the day, it's 2 goals, a field, a ball, and 22 players all trying to do the same thing. So he certainly recognized that the conference is relentless, difficult schedule, but it's not really anything new for him. And East Carolina certainly in the heart of ACC country down in North Carolina. Also spent time as the head coach at Lenoir Rhine, also in the state of North Carolina. So he is used to it. As we watch Daisy Duda being tended to on the NC State bench.
Yeah, and Jason, in talking with him, we talked about, what change did he want to bring to NC State's program? And the biggest thing he said was just the passion for the game, and it's something that just comes so natural for him. And he wants to kind of bleed that into the players and have them feed off of him. And I think testament to, how their season started versus how it's going now these past few games is a testament to that and that passion of never giving up, and you're playing a game that you love on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's a great point, Jana, and one of the most interesting takeaways, I would say, from our conversation. He talked about, in this game, you can be the best tactician in the world, but if there's not relationships that you've established with your staff and with your team, you're really not going to find that long-term success that you're looking for. And he was hired in December at NC State and worked quickly to get all his coaches on staff by mid-February, and has quickly changed the trajectory of this NC State program that didn't have more than 2 wins in conference play in a season over each of the last 3. And then this year, as we've documented, what an impressive turnaround in ACC play already, with 3 wins in conference on the year.
Certainly, and back to the relationship point, is it's not an easy task. I think people don't really think about it, but to have a whole new coaching staff with a group of girls that are familiar with relationships in a family that they've had for however many past years has now kind of just been uprooted and changed. The trust that the girls have to have in him and the relationships that they have to be willing to build to create a successful team is not easy, but they seem to have figured it out pretty quickly, which is very cool.
And we talked to him about not only staff construction, but roster building as well, and how he was able to do that, and in spite of being in his first season, having to go right into Raleigh, get the job, and start figuring out who's going to be on your team, especially in the era of the transfer portal. Makes that task a little bit more difficult. And said when he got to Raleigh, he had already known Jade Bordelot, his star striker, because he tried to recruit her when he was at East Carolina, then played against her a couple times when he was at ECU, and hasn't always been easy. We mentioned some of the frustrations from Bordelot early in the season, wasn't performing to the level she needed, but says that he's really helped with her confidence and mentality throughout the year. One of his first calls when he took the job was to Jade Bordelot to try and get her to stay with this NC State program, and she did, and it has certainly paid off.
Yeah, definitely, and I think that goes back to that relationship piece that he was talking about. It's such a key factor for him, and he knew that that was going to be important in creating a successful team, and not shying away from calling the players that are going to be able to help your program and build your program was something he did right off the bat.
Yeah, he said there was maybe some nervousness from Jade Bordelot when she found out there would be a coaching change. She wanted to wait and see who it was, and then once Gary Higgins was named head coach, one of the first phone calls he made was to Jade Bordelot, and a couple of her really good friends on the team had left, but she also had a couple that stuck around, and he sure is glad that he has Bordelot and her 9 goals this year on the season. We get a whistle here. It's going to go against NC State. Higgins looking on, trying to find the answer that his team has not had any trouble finding over the last 5 games, but a different story tonight as we get one more look at the foul here called against Aoki, and clearly reaches around to the front of Abraham and grabs her. You see the frustration from the Panther staff. 2 out of the 3 coaches frustrated. Randy's like, I've seen this many times before.
I'm not going to be surprised if this game gets a little handsy, a little touchy, a little aggressive. You know, off to the side too, you can even see Rourke and Bordelot going at it. So it'll be interesting to see how this half plays out.
And Rourke and Bordelot have been jawing a bit throughout the night. What an exciting matchup, and you can still see it a little bit right now, Jana, as Rourke is on her like glue, and Bordelot is trying to shake her off, just saying, get off me. And excuse me, that's Archibald on her there for the Panthers on that far side. But no matter what Pitt defender it is, they are clearly trying to swarm her and take her out of this game. And to this point, it's worked pretty well. Attack here from Archibald. Touches through to Gagne. NC State able to make the clearance there from Moore. Dabo. Top of the box, Wild chasing it down. And Wong pushes through to draw the foul.
I think they both know what's at stake in this last 45 minutes, and they ramped up the intensity just a bit.
Well, there's clear motivation on each side. You're right, Jane. I think for NC State, you take some pride in the fact that you're on this 5-game unbeaten streak and you're trying to keep it rolling, obviously. And for Pittsburgh, you're in desperation mode at this point in the season. 5-7-2 record, 1-5-0 in the ACC. Still with an outside shot of making the NCAA tournament, but if you're going to make a push, it has to start right now. And so for a Pitt team that hasn't had too much success, especially at home this year, you've got a great crowd, a Friday night game in middle of October, and an opportunity to get a signature ACC win. A game that would probably be Pitt's best win of the season, and they're right there with 35 minutes to go. And we mentioned the 22 and 23 seasons that were just special for this Pitt program, led by Randy Waldrum, left of your screen, and now he's passed the torch on to his son, Ben. 17-1-2 at home in those 2 seasons from 22 to 23. Some special players. Think about Sarah Shupansky, Amanda West, Ellie Caulfield, among so many others that helped turn this program at Pittsburgh into one that is relevant on a national scale. Ball over the top. Bordelot is on, touches, and Rice comes out to make the stop.
Going back to that point earlier of the more direct game, I think you're seeing more and more of it from NC State, and I think that's what they think is going to be their key to success today, just because of Pitt's ability to defend Bordelot and the forwards across the top.
Definitely starting to see this game open up a bit here in the second half. Bordelot pressing high on the Panther back line, especially when Rice had it there a moment ago. Brooklyn Holt to take the throw for the Wolfpack. Brooklyn Holt, by the way, has played every minute this season for NC State. Here's Sims. Nice touch on the reception, and now Wong will switch it up. NC State here with one of their best sequences of possession that they've had all night. Now they send it over the top, too much on it, intended for Duda.
That was a great touch by Sims, just to keep the ball, be able to keep possession for NC State, and like you said, be able to create their best build of possession so far this game.
Brooklyn Holt, there she has got her first assist of the year, last game at Boston College for NC State. Just under 32 minutes to go. Panthers looking for Abraham on that far side, and Jane, I have to say, as that clearance from Protopis went straight into the head of Gagne, good to see her back up quickly, but that did not look pretty. You see Gagne holding the back of her head, but good to see her up and walking around.
And I think this is a great example of just not giving up pressure. 3 Pitt players right there, just continually pressuring, because like I said earlier, you never know when a goal's gonna come. Sometimes in these games, it's a fluke goal, something lucky. It's not necessarily the prettiest build up or most beautiful shot, but just grinding it out.
Looked like it might have been the upper back of Gagne, might have avoided the head. Good to see her running around. Wild, caught by Protopis again. She's made the plays when she's called upon for NC State. I was going to mention before the action there, got to give NC State credit. They've done a little bit of a better job of keeping Lola Abraham off the attack here in the second half.
Yeah, certainly. They definitely have.
And we showed you at halftime, Abraham was the source of a lot of Pitt's opportunities in the first half, but Wolfpack not giving her quite as much room here in the second half. Archibald shielding it away from Duda, but Duda turns her around, gets the crossing, and Wild comes all the way back to play defense and touches it away. NC State still on, and it falls down, shot, and a goal from Nakata. Mana Nakata takes the opportunity. The ball fell right to her feet, and she capitalized.
Yeah, just great pressure there. I mean, great work by Wild to get back defensively, but NC State was relentless and just kept trying shot after shot until it went in the back of the net, and they came away with the goal.
And Duda was able to take it off Archibald. Ball bounces around the box. And just a deflection that fell right to Mana Nakata, who scores her second goal of the season at a very crucial moment.
Yeah, just a great simple finish by her there, and unlucky for Pitt because they had players defensively in the box that just weren't able to clear it.
And the play that started it all really was Daisy Duda in the corner, the freshman who has affected so much of what NC State does. Maya Archibald was shielding the ball away, and Duda was able to poke her leg in and take it away. Great look right here from our crew. Archibald tries to turn it around, but Duda capitalizes the moment that ball becomes available and sends it in for the cross that leads to the goal.
I think the biggest thing for Pitt now is just staying calm and relaxed and continuing to play the game that they've been playing all night. Not getting frantic or frustrated with the score, and just knowing that, treating this game like it's 0-0 and trying to get up the field to put the ball in the back of the net.
Here's the goal scorer for the Wolfpack, the sophomore from Japan. Started every game this season for NC State. Head coach Gary Higgins saying she is the player that keeps things ticking in the middle for this NC State team. Typically kind of the link between the back line and the front, but that time provides the goal that separates NC State in this game. Margaret Wild still with a lot of energy left here tonight, trying to chase down those NC State defenders. Jana, how do you expect things to shift now with a goal on the board for NC State? How does that change the dynamic here?
Well, one thing Ben talked about when we spoke with him earlier in the week was how NC State defends, and they kind of sit in and wait for the other team to make a mistake. And now that I think that Pitt's down, I really think they're going to pack it in and make it really, really difficult for Pitt to get forward. And quite honestly, I think NC State, when they find the ball, they're just going to go long. They're going to play a more direct game and make Pitt chase to tire them out.
And Ben Waldron mentioned how NC State, once they got into conference play, they've been much more organized defensively. And part of the reason for their success, from what he's seen on this NC State side in recent games, and certainly gave them credit. They've found a formula to get results here in the conference portion of the season, and they are not laying off the gas. An NC State corner now will come from the goal scorer Nakata. Option short from Erica Roberts. She will send in the in-swinger. Grazed off ahead and out for a goal kick.
It's a great swinging ball in, and great job to get ahead on it there to provide NC State with an opportunity, just unlucky.
It was Antonella Macioto who got a piece of it for the Wolfpack. Now Stelzer using her wheels to beat the angle off the defender, but gives it away to Holt. Looked like she might have wanted a Panther to make a run, didn't get it. And the NC State captain intercepted the pass, and now the Wolfpack looking to counter.
Looked like she was looking for Wild there, just didn't get enough power behind the ball to swing it in behind the back line.
Five shots apiece for these teams. Remember, the Panthers had the edge in that category at halftime. Second half, NC State has had the better of the play. They now have the goal to show for it from Nakata. And the starting 11, by the way, has done almost all the work tonight for the Panthers. They've used two subs. Sophia Doney came in for 16 minutes in the first half, and Hannah Minot with 26 minutes on the night. Aside from that, no substitutions to this point for the Panthers. Here's Roberts. Drops it back. Macioto has a hit from distance, and Rice able to make the stop. He had a good leg on it from there.
I'd say. Seemed like it had a lot of power, a little difficult to handle.
Wasn't an easy one for Rice, had some heat on it. NC State looking to extend that unbeaten streak to 6 games. And what a magical season it's been for them. Started 0-5-2 and have completely flipped the script. They are 4-6-4, 3-1-2 in conference play, and they are right in the mix for an ACC tournament berth. Trying to be one of the top 6 teams in the conference to get there. And Gary Higgins talked about his side, said they kept on working hard, stayed together, a lot of difficult moments early in the season. Whole team had really only been together for about 6 months, and of course in college soccer don't really even get to have formal training sessions in the fall until early August. And just remarkable the run that they've been on. 2 consecutive ACC wins for the first time since 2021. Said he thought they were getting pretty unlucky in some of those games early in the season, and he's just so proud of the group to stick together, the belief in each other that remained throughout the hard times to get them to the point they're at now, which is a side that can certainly compete for some postseason action.
I think the biggest thing to note is that the passion, as we had mentioned before, and the drive to not give up. Being a part of a team that, you know, has a losing record like that is not necessarily easy. To show up every day isn't necessarily easy. You can kind of look at it as a positive way or a negative way. That negative way is, you know, what's the point? You know, that season's only going to get harder.
Right.
But they looked at it in a positive way. They were able to turn it around. They were able to gel and mesh and create a name for themselves, and that's something certainly to be proud of.
Yeah, I think no matter how competitive you are, if you start a season 0-5-2, the thought has to cross your mind of, well, maybe we should just throw in the towel. Maybe this year is done. There's nothing left to play for. But especially that deep into the season, we're not talking like they lost their first couple of games and turned it around. They were 7 games into the year and they hadn't had a win yet.
Yeah, and I mean, like we had said before, the ACC is a gauntlet, and
yeah,
going into ACC play with that record too, like you're probably thinking the worst, but they turned it around and have made it a really good season for themselves.
Mentioned the struggles early on, 1-5-2 in non-conference play. Normally this graphic is flipped, Jana, where the non-conference numbers are much better than the ACC numbers, but Gary Higgins has completed a very impressive turnaround with this team. Lost to James Madison 3-0 in the season opener, had a tie against the team he used to coach in East Carolina. Then losses to Michigan State, Davidson, Western Carolina, Utah. They had a run there of 4 straight losses in late August. And since the start of September, just 1 loss for NC State. And it was against the #1 team in the country, Notre Dame.
And, you know, even in those games too, that the score sheet might show one thing, but the amount that you can learn and gain from playing teams like that, of that caliber, pays off later in the season when you're not playing, you know, the #1 and the #2 teams, not only the ACC but in the nation as well.
Yeah, it definitely makes that first round of the NCAA tournament feel a bit easier, right? When you've faced NCAA tournament caliber teams all season long. So when you have that pressure of the postseason and high stakes game like that, you're used to it playing in this conference.
For sure.
Substitution made by the Panthers there. Ellie Rowland's going to get her first action of the night. Rowland's the true freshman from Columbus, Ohio. 14th appearance on the year for her. Has become a regular off the bench for the Panthers. Also started in 8 games as well. What does Ben Waldron have up his sleeve here in the final 18 minutes? Panthers trying to snap a 3-game losing skid Last win for Pitt came September 18th on the road at Boston College. That is their one ACC win of the season. Well, they've been right in this game all night long, Jana. Even in the second half here where NC State was able to get ahead, Pitt has had some opportunities.
Yeah, the game's not over yet. There's still a lot of time left to play, and they have the players, they have the technical ability, the tactical ability to tie this game, even win this game. It's just a matter of putting all the pieces together.
And again, maybe one of the positives you point to here if you're Ben Waldron is that Jade Bordelot has been nearly a non-factor in this game. Has not gotten involved too much, as you see Ben Waldron talking to Sophia Doney, perhaps getting ready to check in. Bordelot, heavy pressure from behind from Rourke. And Rourke wins the ball for the Panthers. Freshman center back, we've talked about it throughout the night. She has looked fearless going up against one of the top goal scorers in the ACC.
She certainly has, and I think this will be a game that she looks back on and is proud of herself, gives herself a pat on the back, but also, again, can learn from it and grow from the game today.
Wells with a nice touch inside. Stelzer tries to shake the defender, has a hit, and it's blocked by the NC State defender. Looked like Sims in on the play alongside Nakata.
You can see here if Pitt's able to keep it in this end and gain a little bit of possession in the final third.
Stelzer switches the field, goes to Abraham. Abraham cutting inside, heavy touch and a clearance made by Mackenzie Smith. Got to give a lot of credit to the NC State defense. Smith and Moore, the center backs, and of course Brooklyn Holt and Aoki on the outsides. So notice here a forward, Sophia Doney, checking in for a defender in Maya Archibald. Panthers maybe going to make some subtle changes to the formation to provide a little more offense here. They do have experience playing in a three-back. Have done that in certain cases over the past couple of years, and now perhaps going to that with Stelzer, Rourke, and Lee on the back line. But NC State trying to pull a quick counter. They get it to Sims here on the near side. Stelzer is defending her, and Wells dropping back as well. Good defense by the Panthers. And a throw-in awarded to Pitt.
Yeah, I think that was a great job there. You know, she had a ton of space on that flank, and within seconds there were 3 Pitt players surrounding her, making it hard for her to get a cross off.
Haven't seen many instances where Margaret Wild and Sophia Doney on the field at the same time. But that's what we've got here as the Panthers know they need a goal. Going with a little bit more offense in the formation. You've got Lucia Wells and Lola Abraham still on the outsides, but it's Wild and Doney up high for Pitt. Wild is taken down, wins the set piece. Foul called against NC State. And Masioto can't believe it. She thought, if anything, she was fouled, but that's not the case. Panthers will have a chance here from just about 30 yards out.
I think that was the right call.
Yeah, I would say so. Stelzer chips it over the back line. Doney trying to get there, but not quite enough pace to save it in. Randy and Ben Waldron, Brialine discussing what Pitt can do. Just over 13 minutes remain. Panthers trying to win at home for the first time since August.
I liked that ball that she played there. It just had, I think, a little bit too much pace on it, and a little too much spin to be able to get a foot on it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I thought that was a nicely taken free kick from Stelzer, but one of those tricky kind of in-between spots. And obviously, if you're Doney and the Panther attackers, you have to stay on side, so you can't get a head start on that one. And if it has too much pace, you're kind of trying to squeeze it in that tight zone between the top of the 18 and the goal line for Stelzer.
It almost looked like it skipped, like the ground was wet or something, and that it kind of skipped on the turf.
Here's Doney. 19 minutes of action on the night for her. Minot and Sims battling. Sims slicing through defenders. Nice touch from the junior. And throwing given to NC State. Couple Panthers thought it should have gone their way, but didn't get the call.
Pitt certainly has the intensity, to the will and the want to score. So they have 11 minutes to do it.
Cross came in, now bounces out. Rowland sends it over the top, and Protopis out to make the play. No whistle yet, and there's the clearance. Olivia Protopis very frustrated that she didn't get a call. And there was seemingly some contact on the keeper, but no whistle as play continued, and Protopis relied on her NC State defense to make the clearance.
Just a nice little chip in there. And I don't really think there was much contact there.
You're right.
I think that it was a good job by Pitt to create the pressure and the chaos that made it difficult for her to catch. Just unlucky chance by Pitt.
Yeah, obviously effort always made by officials to protect the keeper. Maybe a little bit from Margaret Wild in the back of Protopis, but I'm with you, did not seem to be much. And well done by the referee to hold off and let play continue. Sims onto a running Macioto. Minot goes down, Macioto the cross, and the header away from Ellermeyer. Ball out to the outside, perfectly paced. Erica Roberts retrieves. Aoki. Mackenzie Smith and NC State. Try again, send another one in. That time it's Rourke that's there for the Panthers. And the offside flag up that time. Roberts was in the offside position for NC State. Inside 10 minutes remaining now at Ambrose Urbanic Field.
That ball is just moving really, really fast, it seems like, for Pitt.
Panthers just haven't quite found that right combination just yet. And Gary Higgins' side has been very steady in this second half, limiting Pitt chances. Back line seems to be perfectly in sync. Coordinated with the goalkeeper, Protopis. And it's led NC State to a 1-0 lead. Under 8.5 remaining. For the Wolfpack, as we get Gagne subbing back in for Minot. Jana, it's a good example of cross the ball in, send it into the penalty area. You never know what could happen. Because that ball for their goal, it just fell to the feet of Nakata.
Yep.
Wasn't really an assist on the play, just dropped to her and she parked it in the back of the net.
No, and I think that's why, you know, if I were Ben, I would just keep telling the team to continue taking shots, because
that one fell to Abraham on the far side. And to your point, that's why you continue taking shots. You put the ball inside the 6 like that, suddenly you've got opportunities.
Yeah, and again, like you said, Jason, the ball's just in the box. Headed mistake by NC State, and just unlucky there. Wasn't able to get her chest over the ball. Ball had a little bit of a funky bounce and went over the crossbar.
Ben Waldrum looks on. That was probably Pitt's best chance of the second half, perhaps of the entire match here tonight. Well, we are far from over. Still 7 minutes of this here at Ambrose Urbanic Field, and two teams that want to resolve very badly. Bordelot working on Rourke. This time gets her way. Cuts inside. Left-footed strike blocked. Well done by Rollins. Rourke heads it. And Wild making the clearance. Falls to the feet of Ellermeyer. Seemed to be one of the few times tonight, Jana, where Rourke actually lost Bordelot for a moment and gave her an opening.
Yeah, but you can see just how dangerous Bordelot is when she has just the tiniest bit of space to do something with the ball.
She has not left the field tonight, Bordelot or Sophie Rourke. It's been an exciting matchup to watch between 13 in black and 30 in white.
Back to your point before, Jason, before Lola had that chance on the back post, just you never know what can happen. Any deflection, any shot, even there, you know, a block shot could deflect the wrong way and go in the net. So like I was saying before, if I were Ben, I would just be telling the team, continue to shoot, especially now with about 5 minutes left. You never know what's going to happen. Even a shot that you don't think is going to go in, lucky stars might be on your side. It could go in. So take all the chances you can.
And a gutsy play by the freshman Rollins, too, to stick your leg out there, because like you said, if it takes a bad deflection, could end up in the back of your own net. But Rollins got nice contact on it and was able to make the clearance. Five minutes to go in this mid-October ACC battle between NC State and Pitt. The Wolfpack as hot as about anyone in the country right now, and the Panthers doing all they can to try to end the run. No team has found a way to beat NC State in the last 5 games. Ben Waldrum hoping that his Panthers can find a way. Drops out to Olivia Lee, Panther captain. Every ball of extreme importance at this point. That time it's won by NC State. Erica Roberts takes it into the attacking third. One-on-one with Lee.
And it looks like NC State's just going to play that keep away game and kind of hold the ball in the corner for as long as they can in these next 4 minutes.
Yeah, good job by Ellermeyer, and exactly what Ben Waldrum told us about her. Katie Ellermeyer with so much heart and fight. She wins the Panthers the throw-in as Olivia Lee gonna get some help from a teammate. Mariama Dabo receives some coaching from Ben Waldrum before subbing in. Clock stopped with 3:54 to go as we get one more look at what might have happened here to Olivia Lee. Ooh, and a little bit of some awkward contact there from Erica Roberts. Didn't see that at first, but she's being helped off as the Panthers lose their captain here with under 4 minutes to go. And we take you back to Mana Nakata's goal. Of course, that was earlier in the 61st minute. Nakata, ball fell to her feet inside the box. Initial cross came from Daisy Duda, and Nakata was able to score for the Wolfpack and break the scoreless draw. Her second goal of the season, fourth of her NC State career, just a sophomore, and has made such a big impact on this NC State team, especially tonight. And Jana, you said it, the Wolfpack are seemingly in full burn the clock mode here.
Yeah, and for Pitt, you know, that's a tough spot to be in, because it just seems like
it's one of the most frustrating things in soccer, right?
Yeah, for sure. And when you want to get that ball out of that corner, it just doesn't ever seem to happen the way you want it to happen. But, you know, for Pitt, hopefully that ball squirts out and they're able to get at least one more chance here in tonight's game.
So Pitt does win possession here. So now the key is not letting NC State possess it in the corner again, which is easier said than done. But there it goes, back again to the corner. This time NC State player offside. I think it was Bordelot there for the Wolfpack, and Abby Rice hustling. About 30 yards from her goal. Ben Waldron looking on. Here's Stelzer. 2 minutes to go. Ball lofted over the top, headed by Moore. Wells across. Drops to Gagne. Gagne strikes. Easy work for Protopis.
Kind of looked there that the ball was spinning backwards, like it wasn't going to get to her, and that Minot was going to be able to run onto it. Or sorry, not Minot.
I think it was Stoney at the top of the formation for Pitt. Bordelot. Stelzer concedes the throw.
Pitt's doing everything they can to make sure that ball doesn't go back into the corner.
One last run for the Panthers, 45 seconds to go. Abby Rice organizing her team before she takes the kick. But it's won by Macioto and NC State, who really has come out looking like a different team in the second half. Composed on the ball, generating opportunities, one of which resulted in the Mana Nakata goal that put them ahead. And time just about to expire here at Ambrose Urbanic Field.
9, 8, 7.
Yeah, I think they played a little, NC State played a little more reserved in the first half and just came out with a little bit more fire this here in the second.
The Wolfpack just keep winning. That's 3 consecutive victories in ACC play for NC State. And after starting the season